My name is Joshua Hale, and welcome to Do It Live podcast here on Autonomy Week. Joined with me today is Lawrence. Lawrence, thanks for being brave and having your camera on. How you doing?
Doing great, Joshua. Good to see you.
Awesome. You too. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. We got other flies on the wall. We'll see if they unveil themselves. But we're going to kick this show off. Point of Do It Live podcast is go over the previous week of Autonomy. We're in season 3 right now. We just hit, we're in week 3 now. Well, basically, we're about to hit week 3. And we're going to cover some of the highlights from this last week. There's already lots starting to take place. There's more on the horizon. This is a great place to kind of get an inside look of what's going on inside of the course, meet some of the community, and then kind of get some, some good tidbits of behind the scenes, what's on its way. So make sure to stick around till the end. And while you're at it, subscribe on whatever you're watching this on. Hit that like button, and so more people can learn about this. All right. Last week, we had a great Q&A starting on Sunday. I had a couple highlights. I wasn't able to get them organized, but it was really great to hear from Benny Wills. Benny Wills came on and got to share some great insights of how he's taken season 3 now and excited to be here. Him and his new bride, Sonia. This is really great to have him part of the community. So you'll be able to see them popping in and out of here. Well, next up, I had a very solid work week. I help out with the marketing of Autonomy, and we just gave a good push as the kickoff of the new season. Now we're going back into strategy and figuring out, how can we let more people know about Autonomy? And we came up with this great idea, and it's starting to come into fruition. So I'm going to give a little sneak peek because it's so cool looking. Soon to be a lead magnet PDF download, 19 skills not taught in school. This is currently still being written. The idea came from Richard Grove, and the skills that he learned, not in school, but when he joined the real world from his student painter's job, and then on his way to Wall Street, he cultivated these skills. And this is going to be soon available to you to download in exchange for an email, just so we know where to send it. And you'll then be able to get more finer information about Autonomy. So keep an eye out for this. Tori did the cover design. She's designing the PDF too. This is going to look really hot when it's done. Kara is head of the copywriting team, who's going through those 19 skills, packing with value, making sure it's short and concise in order for it to deliver value to everyone who reads it. Lawrence, are you on this project at all?
I am. I've had the pleasure to try my hand at a little copywriting. I have a little contribution, and I got some good feedback from Kara. So that was really cool. She made a little Loom video to go through the notes that she made on what I wrote, and it felt good to be able to contribute there, get some of that, provide something useful, and look forward to working on that some more.
You want to drop the bomb? Which one of the 19 that you're working on, or do you want to keep that anonymous so people don't jump on you?
Well, I was working on number 3, but Kara made it acceptable,
Nice.
And basically, I went back and listened to the season 2 lecture on that topic, and just did my best to capture what Richard was talking about an attitude of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I I could see just a basic form, like about 3 paragraphs, and I just did my best to fill in the space, and it was pretty wordy in some spots, and there's a lot I have to learn, but at least I allowed myself to suck a little bit and get that out there, and I got some good feedback, and Kara really liked a little bit that I think I added myself. I mean, just kind of going off what Rich was talking about, and that got in there, and I just really enjoyed the whole process of it.
Awesome. So yeah, we open this up. There's lots of opportunities to use these new skills that you've learned in season 2. Copywriting is one of them. You wanted to pursue getting better at it, and now you got real world projects to work on with a support team to be able to give you feedback, refine your process, and put your name on this good looking PDF when it gets out there, so you can show it to your future clients and say, this is under my belt, right?
It sounds good to me. Yeah, it's really cool being a part of Autonomy Unlimited. Seeing this bird get off the ground, and yeah, I can't wait to see how it grows from here. There's some amazing new folks coming into Autonomy this season, and I'm sure they're going to be contributing in the future too.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your relationship with Agnieszka. You guys seem to just be like peanut butter and jelly, and coming up with some ideas for some social media posts, and who knows, they might turn into some Facebook ads that y'all might see if you visit our website and then get retargeted.
Yeah, well, a couple weeks ago, she helped me improve upon an idea that I was trying to execute. I guess inspired by one of the topics Richard wanted to turn it into an ad, and so last night I'm listening to the lecture, and basically, Rich started mentioning turn it to 11, and so I started feeling creative, like, okay, there's a meme there, or an autonomy meme, maybe an ad. So I just started looking around, and then I posted some ideas in the copywriting channel on Autonomy Unlimited, and then I tagged Agnieszka, and she started responding, threw in some ideas, and I was just playing around with Canva, and sort of coming up with something with that one idea, and then she posted something else that turned into another idea, and it just evolved over the course over a little time, and it ended up in another cat meme ad. So we'll see.
I'm going to debut it real quick. Nobody's going to watch this podcast. Don't worry about that. So, but yeah, creativity, right? Once you have others to bounce it off to, magic things happen, right?
Most definitely. And yeah, I had fun. I had fun there. I was describing to my wife today, like, I had this kind of limitless feeling for a little while there last night. Rich is talking in the background, and I'm listening and hopefully soaking up. I was still taking some notes, but definitely multitasking and letting the inspiration drive me. And yeah, I'm getting comfortable with Canva. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anybody can learn, and you just gotta try. You just gotta do it. I'll be honest. Last night during the lecture, I had like a list. I was like, I'm gonna build this website. I'm gonna knock this thing out. But then I ended up getting stuck in Evernote and just organizing my folders. But it was like just brain dead enough for me to be able to I've been wanting to do that for probably like a year. So I was able to get that organized, but I was able to then, focus on the lecture and let that stuff soak in. But it really does help. Shannon, who's been meaning to join the podcast, she bought a coloring book and a whole brand new set of markers. And I talked to her today, and she said, she's like, Josh, just wait till you see this coloring book. I'm getting so much coloring done from these lectures, but it really helps your prefrontal cortex to focus on something, be doing it kind of mindlessly, and it allows all this stuff to come in and soak in and stick. Whereas normally, you're fighting the goldfish attention span, and it's difficult to stay focused on one thing for long. So I'm glad everybody's kind of figuring out their tricks. Anybody else, any other flies on the wall that are experiencing that? Have any tricks of how to stay focused and absorb long form information? All good. Moving along through the week, we had a really great guest speaker this week. Jordan Page is his name. He's a musician. Lawrence, you want to introduce him? We might be able to do a little better job than I can.
I'll do my best. Jordan, that presentation was fantastic. I hope everybody gets a chance to go listen to the replay. Jordan's someone I'm familiar with just because we come from the same part of the world on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and not that familiar with his music, to be honest. But after I discovered Tragedy and Hope, Richard's work a couple years back, he popped up on YouTube. I think the Rabbit Hole song that Richard recorded at I guess it was after one of the Pork Fest a few years back. So Jordan, his story is really compelling. His presentation of his journey was wonderful, and he highlighted a couple of the songs with some context to them, and the process that he went through and sort of in writing these songs, and that was really enlightening to me. I'm a musician. Hopefully, yeah. Well, I don't feel all that accomplished as a musician, as far as stuff that's gotten down or like recorded. Definitely more so in the electronic realm. I made some recordings, but I was very inspired to continue with getting back into music, which has started after getting involved in Autonomy last fall. Anyway, enough about me. Jordan was a great guest speaker. So do you have any highlights from that you wanted to play?
Yeah, I got a clip. It was right at the end, after 3 hours of just a really inspiring discussion. Just to hear Jordan's background, I was inspired by his outlook on life and his trust and his ability to stay hopeful. That like through all of this, clear understanding of the current situation that we're in, he's still really, really hopeful. So I got a clip. It's about 4 minutes long, and I'm really excited to play it. So here we go.
Like life as a human being is not a destination. It is a means to an end. This is a school. Autonomy is a school within a school. Life itself is one giant school, and we are here to learn, to be affected, because when we're in our infinite selves, when we're free of these bodies, of this mortal coil, this low frequency vibrating energy. When we shed this skin and we are ourselves again, our infinite selves, we are unchanging. We come here to be affected, to be changed. We come here to become more. It's an amazing opportunity to be a human being, and it only lasts for a short amount of time. We are not here of our own volition. We are sent here. We existed before we came here, and we will exist after we're done. It's all about what you do with the time that you have, because time is the only real currency. Okay, time, you're spending it all the time. You've just spent 3.5 hours of what little time you have listening to me and us listening to each other in this last hour or so. And that's what's valuable, is every moment you're alive is a moment you can turn everything around. No matter how bad it gets, you can turn it around. Okay, there's always hope. And everyone knows that deep down, but sometimes we lose sight of it. And you have to just keep coming back to center. And you have to find your center, first of all. For me, my center is God and Christ, and it's my wife and my children, my music, my mission, the things that I'm passionate about. I got to keep coming back to that. That's being stuck in my house for a month or so has really reconnected me to all the things that I'm really passionate about. Because I'm guilty of falling into the trappings of life like everyone else is too. But we're all here to do something. And that something may be a series of somethings, but overall it's a something. And the majority of people are not fulfilling their mission. That's why you're in autonomy, is to help you find your mission. That's what Rich and Lisa are really, really good at, is directing people to what is just super special about them and taking their giftings and focusing them into something productive. And so if you're not happy, or if you're stuck, or if you're in a rut, change everything you're doing. Like, take a step back and really look at yourself. Be honest with yourself always. And I'm talking to me right now. I'm not talking to you. Be honest with yourself, Jordan Page. Be honest with yourself about who you really are. Who are you when you're talking to people? And who are you when you're by yourself? Because who you are when you're by yourself is who you really are. When you stand before God, that's who you really are. So who is that? And if that's not okay, or there's things that you don't want there, get rid of them. Reinvent. Reinvent who you are. You can. You have the power to do that while you're here, because you can be changed here. You can be affected and affect others. But it has to be, make sure that it's good. We all make mistakes and we all screw up, but if our motivations are good, we'll get somewhere good. I have a lot of hope, and my children, I find hope, because they're going to be here after I'm gone. They're going to inherit all the mess if we leave it a mess. And I don't want to look at them when I'm 85 and say, I'm sorry I didn't do more to fix it. I'm sorry I'm sorry this is your burden to carry now. I sounds like Lord of the Rings,
It's funny, I was thinking of that when Gandalf says,
I just realized that I was like having the conversation with Bilbo and Frodo, but it's true. Bilbo didn't deal with it, and it passed to Frodo. I don't want it to have to pass to Frodo. You know what John Adams said? Somebody, when he was in France, basically lobbying for support and money for the revolution, someone asked him, why do you do what you do? And he said, I study politics and war so that my sons can study mathematics and history, so that my grandsons can study art and music and poetry and philosophy.
Man, that was really impactful. Good ray of sunshine, and I just really loved how spiritual and devoted he is. It's not his flavor of spirituality isn't my cup of tea, but I can honor and respect his devotion to that.
Most definitely, I'd agree. And that is a guy that's just walking the walk to the nth degree. You know, he's got 7 kids. He's got a farm. He's growing hemp. You know, he's into, I think he mentioned biochar, and so he's literally improving the soil, improving the earth. And he's involved in cryptocurrency, and just blockchain stuff. And you know, he's been using his music for years now to bring people to the ideas of liberty and freedom and taking hold of that. And definitely somebody to learn a lot from.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't know who he was before he became our guest on Autonomy, but now I do, and I'm glad I do, because it's good to know that there's other people out there that are on a mission. And you can tell, like, once he figured out like his center, which is his music, and tapped into that, man, that guy's had a really exciting life since then.
And I'll just mention an anecdote. I mean, we're from the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Talbot County. You know, that's where he went to high school. I don't know if he lived there, but I mean, that's the land of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. You know, Harriet Tubman was down in Dorchester County, just south of where I grew up, and Frederick Douglass, he lived in Talbot County there on Y Plantation. And that's just something, you know, some of us definitely soaks into us, I think, growing up in that area. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that was a surprise, right? You didn't know that Jordan Page was going to be as a guest speaker inside of Autonomy, right? Till it was announced.
No, you know, I was hoping for it.
Cool. Anybody else want to chime in about something from Jordan Page's presentation that they really liked or connected with? All good. Crickets out there. Next up, we got Friday night's lectures. I got a couple slides. We can go through them and just give a little bit of what we thought about them as the night progressed. Start off, won't give away all the secrets, but fulcrum. When I first saw this in season 1, I had to write down fulcrum, as I do with new words when I hear them for the first time, look up the definition. And this really is a really solid metaphor because of how you can still make big things happen with if you're smart about it, right? You don't have to have all the muscle to move big things. You can be smart. And man, I've seen a dude like move huge slabs of granite with just a small pebble that the granite balances on. So just knowing that and seeing this quote, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. So again, brings a lot of hope, knowing that there's a big world out there. There's a predator class, but we still got tools in order to make things happen. Everyone who plays by school's rules is set up to lose. I was talking to my best friend Shannon today. She's going through this season for the first time. I'm going to get her on this podcast at some point. But she was going through Rich's the Ultimate History Lesson with Rich interviewing John Taylor Gatto, and she was floored. She knew there was something like wrong with school, and now she just told her daughter, she's like, "You're not going back to school. I'm pulling you out." And her daughter's like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You don't have to do your homework." She was like celebrating at that point. Not and I told her, I said, it's pretty amazing, right, that like school turns into this wedge in between you and your kids, right? You think that school has your kids' best interest in mind, and so you like, no, you have to do your homework. The school knows what's best. Your teacher's an expert. Like, this homework's good for you, and so you have to become an authority figure on your kid. Where before, I mean, I have a 2-year-old. Like, we have such a deep bond of trust and connection, and I know most parents start with that, but it's when they get pulled out into school that they then start creating. There's a new influence on them. And so jump forward into teenagehood, which Shannon's daughter, she's 14 years old. She hates school. She feels really awkward there, but she's forced to go. And she told her, she's like, "You don't have to go back there anymore, and you don't have to do your homework." And she smiled and got really excited. And that bridged trust and connection. Like, I hope at 14 years old, they're still gonna like be able to mend that relationship of that mentality of a teenager thinking that parents are so lame and stupid and you want nothing to do with them. Really has to do with putting them in a classroom of their peers without older people to work side by side with, to like have mutual relationships and respect. Instead, all the adults are authority figures, and adults are bad. Like, you want to stay away from them. They'll just tell you what to do. So I really hope I get to see the rekindling of their relationship because of this small change in their lives. And doesn't mean that she's going to stop learning, but now she gets to figure out what she wants to learn and then get resources and support to pursue that. I'm really excited for her, and this really speaks volumes at you're set up to lose if you just play by school's rules, because you're going to come to find out, you may come to find out that what expectations you were given isn't what you'll end up with. Lawrence, do you have anything to say about that?
Well said. I'd love to hear from Shannon going forward about that journey, how it progresses, and that's beautiful to hear. And I can attest to, especially at that age, starting high school. I mean, I was begging to get out of the house, and I had the option to go to a boarding school, and that had a significant effect on me. I was definitely sort of a country mouse, put into a situation with some city slickers, I guess. Mixing metaphors, and well, I'm definitely excited to see what happens there for Shannon and her daughter, and also the other homeschoolers that are a part of this community. I look forward to being able to learn from them, and hopefully someday go through the same thing with children of my own.
Definitely. Another good slide that stood out to me. If you could do it on your own, you would have done it by now, right? We're all told, well, I had this misconception, that I had to figure things out. And that it is not cool to ask for help. That's definitely something we are not experiencing here in Autonomy. There are a wealth of resources and a wealth of community that are there at the quickest question anybody asks. There's lots of people jumping in to be able to offer feedback, offer strategies, offer just somebody to listen to. And if you could do it if you could do it on your own, you would have, right?
We're not alone. We got plenty of helping hands out there, especially in Autonomy.
Mission statement. I need to grab this and put this on the website. This is good and something I'd like to see more often. To provide students with principles, methods, strategies, tactics, knowledge, proficiency, and experience to understand how to be successful in life, and to have the confidence to be able to take effective action consistently and efficiently. To provide students with access to tools, resources, infrastructure to enable interactive communication with facilities, which facilitates the question and answer sessions and integration exercises. To endure that your potential is ignited, that you point it in the direction you seek to travel, and that you realize the goals which you will set for yourself through Autonomy. That's exciting. I do. I want to get that up on the website. People should be seeing that on their way in, right? Because that gives a good framework of building expectation, what it is that you're going to be accomplishing here. Anybody else have any feedback on Friday night's lecture? Well, there's lots more on the way. There are, we got Q&A tomorrow morning. People that weren't able to make it on Friday night will be able to catch up on the lecture and be able to join us for Q&A, Ask Rich, and get some questions answered. This is going to be really exciting as we dive deeper and deeper in the coming weeks. This upcoming week, we got our integration exercises where you are charged with the task of having 10 interviews done this week. Lawrence, do you have anybody in mind that you want to interview?
Yeah, well, first off the top of my mind is Ben Dasher. Benjamin, he's seems like an interesting guy, and I would also refer anybody to his quick summation from last night's Q&A, sort of meta analysis of Richard's lecture. I definitely would like to talk to him, and I want to hear from Greg up in Idaho. He had a compelling introduction to the autonomy community with that story. I'm sure everybody's going to want to talk to him. And gosh, yeah, there's some really interesting folks coming in. Too many to name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I hope we get to maybe get the dojo in action. So it's always great to kind of, jump in on people's interviews because you get to hear these good one-on-one conversations and be able to learn more about the new people in the community. Also, season 2, season 1, just being able to get to know everybody on a much more deeper level because of these one-on-ones instead of the group conversations that we tend to do for for coffee talk. And obviously there's been current events that have taken the center role of the conversation for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now. So this is going to be really great to hear some more background on the people here. Well, if there's nothing else that anybody else wants to chime in about from the last week, any anecdotal stories, anything from the feed that you thought was really great, I'm going to wrap this show up. And call it a day. Oh, McCarthy.
There he is.
Coming in under the wire. Mustache McCarthy. Coming in
He's got
hot.
a book to talk about, doesn't he?
Can you guys hear me all right? My audio's been weird.
Yep,
Okay,
coming in
cool.
good. Thanks for saving the show. What stood out to you this last week?
Well, I mean, frankly, this past week, I've really just been nose to the grindstone with my book. So I was able to pop in last night. I like just missed the end of the lecture, so I was able to listen to some of the Q&A. And it was just nice to hear from some of the new students, of course. You know, definitely some interesting characters. I'm looking forward to talking to them. But yeah, like I said, I didn't see the lecture, but just, you know, from what I remember from season 2 and season 1, I know that, you know, Rich always has a lot of substantial information. Everything's really helpful. And, you know, season 2 was obviously an improvement on season 1. And so I can only imagine what more substance has been added to this time through. You know, it just gets a little more polished every time. So I'm excited to see how the new students are going to react to the integration exercises now that that's going to begin. And of course, you know, I want to make myself available for interviews if anyone's interested. But I'm thinking this week my plan is anyway tonight to actually order a test printing of my book. So that'll give me a couple days to not think about it. And so I think I'll go back and watch some of the replays from this past season and kind of get caught up. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet. And who did you publish your book with?
So I'm using a service called Lulu. So it's a self-publishing thing. I send them my formatted PDF file and they print it for me. So it's pretty simple in theory, although I've been like ripping hair out of my head for the past couple hours trying to get it formatted correctly. It's hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible.
Not something you want to play with.
No,
Well, what did you take down your book on? On Word or?
I've got Open Office.
Okay, nice.
So that, you know, it's a good software, but I don't know if because it's free, it isn't the greatest thing in the world. But like I said, the formatting and getting all the margins and the indenting right, it's like you hit one button and the whole thing just gets
Page
blown
47
away.
all of a sudden has a huge hole in it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm trying to get the table of contents to line up and everything. It's I don't know. I don't know how people do it, but I keep telling myself that I'm saving money, you know, like, oh, I'm not paying someone to do it, but it's not.
You do it once for one book, and then you know that like I know a guy in Australia, like $100, and he'll format it for you and get it up there, and that is worth $100 for the 8 hours of time and the hair you lose trying to format books.
Tonight I might have to hit you up for that guy's information. But yeah, my idea was to just do it on my own all the way through, to know the process. I mean, I've done it before, but it was with a much smaller book, and I'm making things more difficult for myself this time because I'm putting pictures in it, like to reference like who I'm talking about and stuff, and that just oh my God.
Translating that. Yeah, right.
Yep. And trying to get the text to wrap around it in just the right way. I'm losing my mind over here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what's that called where like the first letter is big in the beginning of the chapter?
No, drop cap. Yeah.
Drop cap. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have those? Did you even attempt that?
Oh yeah, I've got the drop cap. I don't. They're not like the frilly medieval ones with the vines winding around the T or anything. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But no, just basic big letter drop cap. I didn't have that in my last project, and I figured this time I probably should make it look professional. So
yeah, awesome. Well, definitely let us know when you get it. I know there's plenty of people in the community that are willing to get their hands on your book once it's up and out there. Are you excited to just get it up and published, and then you can let it go?
yes, my the thing I really want to do is start my own podcast, a solo show, and the book is kind of like the threshold into that, where I'm condensing my thesis, my idea of utopianism, into something that's tangible and easy to reference. That's that. And then from there, the podcast is going to be a deep dive into all the material. So that's what I really want to be doing, because it's just, it's more casual. I don't have to remain so focused. I can have my tangents and good conversations. So, it's not that I don't want to come off like resentful because that's not the case, but it's just to the point right now where I'm ready for this book to be done. I don't want to be typing anymore. I don't want to type a single thing for a long time after this.
Oh, but you're not really in charge of that, right? Once those ideas strike, you got to get them down.
Yep, that's right. That's, hopefully the podcast will serve as a conduit for that, where, instead of having to type something out in a perfectly formulated, logical sentence, I could just talk and, let it kind of be more off the cuff.
Yeah, but I mean, all of that, the podcast required your diligent research, organization of thought, and now then the podcast will be easy, right? Podcast, you'll just be able to show up and hit record.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And so what's going to be nice about the podcast is I'm not going to be limiting myself to like, here's a really quick run through of my utopian thesis. I can take as long as I want and I can get into all the details. Whereas with the book, it's kind of ironic, but one of the biggest challenges was avoiding doing too much research, because like I just don't have time to get into every rabbit hole. But in a podcast, if I want to do a whole show on one weird thing, then I have the freedom to do that. And, it's not like I'm taking up any space that's, I could be printing something else on it. So I don't know.
Then,
I'm looking forward to this.
Then you end up, your book ends up just becoming your business card, right? Like
that's the idea.
You can point at it, you can reference it, you can give it to people, and it gives you legitimacy, huh?
Yes. Yeah. It's something like the business card is that whole idea back in season 1 when that was introduced. That's actually the reason I said, okay, fine, I'll write a book. And if I could go back and punch that naive little me in the face, I would. But here I am, almost done. Yeah. And it's looking good. I've designed the front and back covers already, and I think they look all right. So I'm trying to do as much of it as I can on my own. So we'll see how it comes out. Hopefully in like a week or so, I'll have a copy of it just to make sure it prints properly. And I can only hope. Yeah.
Well, really excited for you, man. Glad it's been great to see that from the seed of conception to coming into fruition. And let us know when you got it done. And we would love to host it on the Get Autonomy website just to be able to showcase student accomplishments with that thing. And it'd be great.
That would be great. Yeah. I'm really excited just to get into that side of things, of just getting it out there. And the one last thing I'm really going to have to do with it once it's all completely finalized is I'm probably going to do an audio book and release that as part of the podcast. So that's going to be the last thing I have to do with this whole book, is read it out loud, and then I can put it away and not look at it again for a year. But
Lawrence Fishburne, nice. Who are you going to get to read your book?
I do it myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that when authors do that.
Yeah, definitely. And if I'm going to have a podcast anyway, if that's going to be in my voice, I might as well get people used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Well, I got lots of like marketing experience with books. So let's definitely talk once you get that thing finished and up there, and then how to, get it out there in front of the masses, put off little, still need it. You need like a little reader magnet. We'll talk about that because that's how you really get them hooked.
Yeah.
We got several reader magnet projects happening right now in Autonomy Unlimited. So definitely by the time you're ready, McCarthy will have a team ready to go to be able to pump that thing out.
That's awesome. That's what I need, because I can write the material. I could do the nerd work, but when it comes to getting it in front of people, I got nothing. So you had up there before, if you can do it on your own, you would have done it already. That's where I dropped the ball. So I'm glad that there are people who I know can help me and will do a good job. So I appreciate it.
Well, looking forward to that. Thanks for chiming in. And I'm still going to wrap this thing up. Everybody, stay tuned for week 3. Things are going to start moving pretty fast. There's going to be a lot coming at you. We got a lot of guest speakers and extracurricular activities coming up. So make sure to look out for that. See y'all in question and answers. And if you're on YouTube, again, make sure to hit subscribe, hit like, give us a thumbs up, and leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Lawrence, McCarthy, thanks so much for hopping on this week, and see you guys in the community.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.